These gays, they're trying to murder me.
What do I think of her?
Yes?
I don't think of her.
Read about that in the New York fucking Post.
Welcome back to Watch What Happens Live. My name is Andy Cohen, and today in the studio, I have an extra special guest for you. Her name is Joan Summers, and she's here to tell us about her wild and crazy weekend. Everyone say hi to Joan. Joan, hello.
Hi.
Hi, Andy. It's so nice to be here. I actually didn't think you would ever have me on your show, considering I've called you a Zionist and the F word on this podcast multiple times. You know, let's let bygones be bygones. You know, here at Bravo, we're all about the ratings. Yeah, you know, I was worried you might have, I don't know, some of my shooters come out and jump me here on the Watch What Happens Live today, Andy. I'm kind of shocked you haven't invited them anywhere near me right now. So yeah, no, I'm here today to share a story with my co-host, Matthew Lawson, here on Eating for Free, the podcast recording live from the absolute edge of the internet. My name is Local Gossip Joan Summers. Hello, everybody. How are you?
Hi. And this is your Watch Happens Live asylum seeker, Matthew Lawson. I'm still strapped down in the audience chair. No one else is here but me in this empty studio.
Oh God. I partly that bit is inspired by the fact that somebody on Twitter this week was like, in response to me pointing out, in response to me pointing out anti-Palestinian sentiments on Twitter and just like the rampant anti-Palestinian movement on that app and the Zionists, etc. Someone was like, excuse me, have you ever even mentioned that Andy Cohen is a Zionist on your podcast? And I was
we
like,
quite literally have made some pretty direct connections between
I know,
the
they're
state
like, on
of
your
Israel.
multiple podcast series about his
Bravo.
TV shows. I was like, babe.
You can listen to our series. Subscribe
I was
to
like,
Eat for
babe,
Free.
I literally responded. I was like, maybe you should scroll down in the descriptions for the multiple mentions of Netanyahu in, I don't know, 2 episodes ago. It's just funny. It's funny because there is this consistent theme, I think, when Zionists try to engage with you in bad faith on the internet, where like they set themselves up to get dunked on because they'll be like, what
so
about
easy.
this? And it's like, yeah, what about that? Let's talk about it. It's like,
Let's research, Mama. Because I did.
Well,
did you? No, I didn't.
researching would require reading skills, and we know that they don't know how to read. So, nor do they want to learn. So, no, Matt, I've been saving this story for you. Truly, it feels like, I think it wasn't a week, but I did call you on Monday when we were talking at the bonus episode, and I was like, you know what? I have a story for you that I need to save for the main episode, right? Like, not even the Patreon girlies can have this story get kept because it is the story for the ages.
I literally
okay?
kept asking, I'm like, wait, what was that story? And you're like,
I'm
you're
like,
gonna have
I
to wait
can't.
until-
I'm like, it's the one time in our friendship. Actually, that's a lie, but it is multiple times in our friendship now where I have had to be like, no, I have to save this for the podcast because I need you to be like raw when you hear this story. I need to raw you literally with the truth of my lies. So, I, Joan Summers,
I need to hear this.
am kind of a liar.
I mean, I've known this, but
Oh, okay.
a bestie lets a
Interesting.
bestie lie when it's, convenient.
Interesting. So,
Unless
for
you're
the
lying to
you know-
me.
no, I'm not lying to you.
See, that's
I
all I
don't
care about.
use. I don't lie for evil. I lie for fun, or I lie for
Justice?
Justice.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
this is a moment of justice. So,
That's okay.
those of you who have been listening to the bonus episodes for some amount of time, I told a story on them, sort of alluding to things that had happened when the person whose room I moved into had moved out. And I kind of was being vague about it because I
Oh,
wasn't
no.
quite sure what was going to happen with things. And he was still showing up at our house to claim random objects. But one of the many presents that he left me in said room were when I first get
traumatized.
there.
I'm still traumatized.
I was alone because my roommate, who is fabulous, was on a trip. And so I was like basically by myself that first week that I moved in. And that day that I get here, I didn't really want to see him. I was annoyed with him anyways because he had really like put us through the rigmarole when I was moving in.
It was like months
canceling and delaying, and like
it
he basically said you could move in August and then ended up not leaving until November. So you can imagine just my last year was very chaotic in terms of like the couch surfing escapades that I was on. So I wait for him to text me. This is back in November. And he's like, I'm gone. Like, room's all yours. Like, best of luck, whatever. So I go there. And of course, the room is filthy. I mean, there is like stains on the walls, holes on every surface, trash like littering the floor, dirty windows.
Just a garbage dump.
The door was like, the window was left open. So like bugs had gotten in. It was like a sty, right? So me, being the person that I am, I got some cleaning supplies. I changed into like truly like clothes that I did not feel bad getting disgusting.
You would be in a hazmat suit
and I took
you could get one.
to work. But wait. So I'm picking up garbage off the floor, not wearing gloves because I didn't think I needed to. And I grab what looks like toilet paper wrapper, like, you know, the kind of like crinkly paper. I'm like, what could this possibly have been for? Whatever. And I go to grab what was underneath it, and my hands are about to clasp what is, are you all ready for this? No. A used condom filled with his actual semen. On the floor of the room that he had just left. And now this condom had been like, is like stuck to the floor. So whatever coating it was, like whatever coating it had, because surely he's not making any girl wet enough to actually have a pleasurable experience. He needs assistance from the lubed up condom, was like dried into the floor. So like it was like old enough that it had dried into the floor, but fresh enough that it was still filled with like actual semen that had not dried.
I'm sick.
Not that I was like testing it, but like you could tell, right? When I finally like got a bunch of paper towels and like literally had to rip it up off the carpet, you could tell that there was still stuff inside of it. So I'm like retching, I'm gagging. I throw it in the trash bag.
That would be my 13th
And I'm
reason.
like, that was truly the most disgusting thing I've ever experienced in my entire life. I go to pick up more trash, Matthew, and there are 2 more used semen-filled condoms stuck into the carpet. For a total of 3 semen-filled condoms that had just basically been sitting in his room for God knows how long.
This is the definition of damn bitch, you live like this.
So Matt,
how?
It had been on the carpet for so long that there were literal condom-shaped stains in the carpet. So I cleaned the whole room, right? I literally Mr. Eraser the fuck out of the walls, literally Lysol everything within an inch of
Hands
its
are
life.
like raw.
I revitalized that room. I go to the hardware store that you can rent stuff from, like the tool workshop, rent a carpet cleaner. I clean the shit out of that carpet for 2 days. I'm like, hell fucking no, you fucking animal. And has the audacity to show up the next day, right? And it's like, oh, by the way, like, I'm sorry if I left my room kind of messy. I like was kind of in a hurry. I hope you didn't have to clean too much.
Like respectfully.
And I'm just like, at this point, I'm like, if I open my fucking mouth, I am going to choke the life out of this bitch. Like I'm
tackle him to the ground.
Like I'm like, he's at the door and I'm like fully dissociating.
I had
like,
to touch your
like,
semen-filled condom. I have a right to beat you up.
I'm like, you're lucky I don't put out an arrest warrant on Instagram.
Amber alert.
Like a citizen's arrest. Like a notice around the neighborhood to all these women who had the misfortune of fucking you, that they need to go get tested for essentially every disease known to mankind for what you put inside of them, you fucking filthy animal.
Oh.
I digress.
Yeah, this was
months and months go by.
ago. Yeah.
This is like almost 5 months ago now.
Oh my God.
Don't see him, don't hear from him, etc. I throw a giant house party on Saturday, right?
Uh-huh.
My roommate says, oh, our friend is coming over. She's walking over right now. And I'm like, great, fabulous. Can't wait to see her, right? Because we were all going to like sort of like pregame, drink some Celsius. They're going to drink some wine and beer and whatever. And then like smoke some weed, get our makeup on, etc. Get the house a little bit together. So our friend is on the way and we're chatting, getting our makeup on at the counter. And we hear a knock at the door. And friend of the show, Heron Walker, is sitting on my couch. She can attest to every single thing that's about to happen right now.
Is this going to be like
jump
Sandra
up.
and
No,
Traders?
Just
Sandra and Traders. That's a male knock.
Just wait.
That's a guy's knock.
Just wait. No. Just wait. I jump up and I'm like, hello, like sing-songing my friend's name, go basically skipping over to the door because I'm like feeling fresh to death in my new dress and I look hot as shit. My tits are out. Anyways, we have like the house set up for the party. I open the door. Bitch, it's him.
No.
At the door at 7:15 at
the
night.
shotgun.
On a Saturday. So I'm like, oh.
You better
hello.
not be here for the fucking party.
And he goes, hi, our roommate, who I'm just remaining nameless, left this speaker that I found, and it's literally like a pocket speaker that's broken.
Like
and
with those
I'm
$20
like,
Bluetooth
okay,
speakers you can get like a gas station.
Sure. Okay, that's
Sir.
cool. And like, I didn't know what to say, right? Like suddenly I feel very like smack cam vibes. So I'm like, I mean, do you want to come in? Like, I didn't know it. Like I thought that maybe
Like something was set up ahead of time.
because my back is to my roommate and I'm like, oh, sure. Okay, yeah. And I like didn't turn to look at her and be like, did you invite him over? Right?
Like, what the fuck is
So he
doing?
walks in and he's like chatting me up. He's like, yeah, I also texted her about like a foam roller that I have. And she go gets it. She comes down.
It's been 5 or 6 months.
It's literally like
Dude.
a $2 foam roller, Matt. I'm not kidding you.
Men
It's
really
made
be
out
like,
of like
hey,
packing
remember
peanuts.
that like
Just wait.
spoon
Just
I
wait.
gave you 2 years ago?
Just wait.
Need it back.
He gets the foam roller. We get the like $5 speaker that's broken, by the way.
Amazing.
And he gets out the door halfway and he turns and he says, what will become a defining moment in our lives.
Oh my God.
He turns and he says, hey, also, I think I've been accidentally getting some boxes of Cliff Bars mailed here. And I was wondering if you guys have seen them at all.
What?
So, when I moved in, there was a box of like Cliff Bars on the patio that had been mailed there. Like a giant box of like 48 Cliff Bars.
Okay.
Like workout Cliff Bars. They like kind of have like 20 grams of protein. And we had like not touched them for like most of the time I lived there. And after like a month or two, I finally brought them inside like at the end of December because I was like, we're going to be gone. I don't want this sitting out on the porch. He never said anything about it. So in January, I was working out. She was working out. We started eating the Cliff Bars.
Oh, yeah.
Because we're like,
Why
sure,
wouldn't you?
Whatever. Why not? Right? It's been 2 months. They were already sitting out there for like half a month when I moved in. So clearly they weren't important to him, right?
Yeah.
So we get through the Cliff Bars. We're like passing out Cliff Bars to our friends. Cause like, I don't know if you guys know, 48 Cliff Bars is so many Cliff Bars for 2 girls.
That's like what you buy
it's
for like a
truly,
store.
like an obscene amount of Cliff Bars. So we're eating them. And we get through them. We like literally are like bringing them to work, passing them out to people like, oh, we have a bunch of Cliff Bars. Does anyone want them? Sharing them with our friends next door. So like a week ago, maybe we get another box of Cliff Bars in the mail and she brings them inside and she goes, guess he forgot to cancel that subscription. And we're like,
Chow down.
I guess we will, right? I guess why not, right? He doesn't say anything to us. So we opened them, and I had that day had my first Cliff Bar. Polly had an open Cliff Bar on the table that she obviously, I think, moved
The
out
evidence.
of the way. So
Aren't that
I
expensive?
said,
How much is a 48 pack of Cliff Bar?
Polly, by the way, I don't even let the words get out of her mouth, right? There was this TikTok today that was like, the truest test of a friendship is if you go to a bar and you tell someone a fake name and your friend comes up and hears you say this fake name and they don't immediately come up with a fake name for themselves and join in on the bit like they're a shooter, they're not your real friend. We had truly psychic mind link. I go, oh yeah, we got a box of bars like a couple months ago and we waited for you to come pick them up, but you didn't. So, we started eating them. Sorry. And he's like, oh yeah, no, that's fine. There should be another one though, if you've seen it. And I dead ass looked in his eyes and I said, yeah, I haven't seen it. That's weird.
That's what he deserves.
And so
I'm shocked you even mentioned the first one. I'd be like, I've never seen a Cliff Bar in my life. Never even had a protein bar.
He's like, yeah, well, and I was like, yeah, I'll let you know if I see those Cliff Bars. And he says, okay, thank you. I appreciate
he knows you're
that.
lying, I'm sure.
No, Matthew, wait. So he gets out the door. I say, okay, have a good rest of your night. Like, best of luck with whatever.
The party still hasn't started yet, right?
I close the door. I turn around. My heart is beating like 500 miles per hour. I look at the girls and I'm like, right? Like, oh, don't say anything yet. Like, we're all like clamped over our mouths, like trying not to burst out laughing because like he clearly hasn't yet gotten in his car.
Yeah.
So about like 20 seconds later, we're standing still waiting for it to be clear that he is gone. And I hear another knock at the door. I open it, Matthew. And he is holding the open box of Cliff Bars that I had put in the recycling that day. He had gone into our recycling and found it.
Oh, bitch. It's Joan.
And said, no, wait.
When the Curb Your Enthusiasm?
Matt, he... holding it like the fucking evidence, right? Like he's the fucking FBI. And he goes, the box should look like this. and I literally looked at him straight in his eyes and I didn't break a sweat. I go, I have no idea where that came from. Thank you for letting us know. If you leave it on the porch, I'll make sure I keep an eye out for the next one.
Oh my
And
God.
we sort of like stared into each other's eyes for like 5 seconds after I said it. I didn't break a single
you were like,
fucking
try me,
sweat.
bitch.
Try me. And he goes, okay, yeah, cool. Okay, bye.
That's right.
I say bye. It was nice to see you. I closed that door. I literally sank to the ground, sank to the ground, head in the hands. And the girls went nuts because we truly were like, he obviously knew I was lying.
Oh, yeah.
He obviously knew.
150%, yeah.
There was that whole encounter was not about the lie. It was about being a quote unquote boss bitch female, in the words of the Jersey Shore cast. And Lala Kent, who we'll talk about today.
Amazing.
I boss bitched on him. I girl bossed that encounter. And I said, try me.
You deserve those Cliff Bars.
Shrey Whitfield first said, who's going to check me, boo?
You worked for them.
Who's going to check me? Who is going to check me? I dare you. I dare you to call me out on this.
The Cliff Bar wrapper on the table, the box in the garbage. Like I've never even had a Cliff Bar in my life.
On the horrible off chance you listen to this podcast, feel free to send me that bill for the Cliff Bars, and I will happily send you an itemized deduction.
That's right.
On the cleaning for your room. And I will gladly send you the photographic evidence and proof of the multiple dried biohazard fucking dried ass semen filled condoms stuck to the floor of this bedroom that you
You
once
should
called
print
your
those
home.
photos out and keep them at the door. Next time he comes by, just be like,
will go toe to toe with you, mister. So you can ask me for those Cliff Bars back, and I will deliver a bag of shit to your door with the Cliff Bars inside.
Amazing.
Post digestion, of course. Thank you. They've been really good for my workouts. I just had to share that story. It truly
That's women
was the
empowerment.
coup of a lifetime.
That's solidarity. That's like a coven.
I felt 100% more powerful, more beautiful, more bodacious. My ass got fatter. My tits got larger. Like,
He comes back to the door, your tits are bigger, ass is bigger.
it's that meme of the girl standing down to pick up a book and walking up a bimbo.
It's
but
you
the
with the
book
Cliff
is
Bars.
the book is a box of Cliff Bars.
And lying.
I'm sorry. I had to share that story. I truly have like been sitting on that for like a week, and I definitely 100% have needed to share it with you
You're
on this
like,
podcast.
eat
So.
Cliff Bar and lie.
Eat Cliff Bar and lie. So,
Wow.
girlies,
Wow.
we have a real podcast for you today.
Yeah.
Today's part 6 of Vanderpump Fools. We're a full 20 minutes into this episode, and you know what? I think it was worth it. I
love the lore.
It was good lore. So today we are going to sort of be covering about a 5-6 year period in the history of Vanderpump Rules. And what I really wanted to focus on is, I think where a lot of cultural criticism gets sort of caught up and itself devalued and minimized is there are a lot of YouTubers and TikTokers and podcasters that sort of just do like an itemized list of like, here is everything that happens on the show, right? You want to recap, you want to like get into all the like on-screen drama, and you just like sort of like stick to the source material. That is not our podcast. We're not interested in doing that. You can go watch the TV show if you really want to know what happens on the TV show, but we are far less concerned with what has happened between seasons 1 and 5 of Vanderpump Rules. And instead, what we are actually going to be concerned with this episode is, in this first part, really looking at the way that the Vanderpump Rules cast and Lisa brand themselves on Vanderpump Rules and how that translates to actual real world opportunities. If you've been listening to the recaps that we've been doing on the bonus feed that you can subscribe on Patreon, patreon.com/eating for free, we've been recapping this season and talking about Vanderpump Rules as a whole, just like the actual show itself and sort of the podcast world and stuff that sort of orbit around it. One thing that we sort of keep circling around is this idea that like these are people that, like Tom Sandoval in part interlude, and as a little bit last week as well with the various cast members, people that have been like trying for a very long time to be famous, for being good actors, being good singers, being musicians, being models, etc., and found basically zero success. And the success that they end up finding is being themselves on television and making fools of themselves on television, hence the name Vanderpump Fools. And this episode is sort of investigating and tearing into how they then translate who they are as people into products for consumption in sort of the mass market. Because that is what reality TV does for people, right? It turns you as the person into not an actor, not a model, not a writer, not a something, but an actual product to be consumed and to be sold by yourself, by the network, by other advertisers. And, it really is like influencers, sort of that whole job of selling yourself, representing yourself. Your brand is key. We see this just across the content space. Content, because I'm using that intentionally to devalue the product, because that is what they would call it themselves. They make content. Across that content space, we see that with YouTubers, like I said, podcasters, bloggers, all these different types of people that sort of fill a weird third space in the traditional fame market. So we're going to go through this chronologically because this does sort of build and develop on each other. Matt as well has a timeline that we will sort of refer back to as we jump through the various years to sort of keep you like grounded in the scandals on the show. And that is just going to sort of keep us in the loop of like where the show is, what are the storylines on the show as all of these things are developing. Because like we said, what happens on the show, we see this with Tom Tom, we see this with Something About Her, we see this more recently with Lala's Send It to Daryl merch, right? Send It to Daryl is what it was, where it's like
those
their
t-shirts.
catchphrases and the things they say on the show are like what they then in turn sell, right? Like Scheana gets called out for these huge eyelashes. She tries to sell an eyelash line, you know, that sort of thing. So let's sort of talk about a little bit what happens in that first season, 2012 to 2013. Matt, you've got these first two notes here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, the show really is dictated by cheating. Like, let's be honest. The show's popularity and its success comes from the cast cheating with each other or with other people, and it being documented and filmed, and all the fights
and like litigating the boundaries of a traditional modern heterosexual relationship. Like that is really what the show is about.
Yeah, and the reason why the show is such a success is because it comes in basically right at the gate with multiple cheating scandals, as we've documented multiple times. Literally the genesis of the show, the transition from Beverly Hills into the spinoff, is when Brandy Glanville of Beverly Hills meets with Scheana Shay to confront about her cheating or her being the mistress to Brandy's man, Eddie Cibrian. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's in 2012, 2013 time is when that begins. And that is where Scheana is really the heart of the show. We've always said this, our little shishu. But right from that get-go, Scheana is obviously depicted as like the mistress. She's the whore. She's the scarlet, letter.
The
Stassi
Madonna.
From immediately in episode 1 is like this home-wrecking whore.
The Madonna? No, she's not the Madonna. Lisa Vanderpump is Madonna.
Yes.
She birthed the Toms through immaculate conception.
Exactly.
No, the Jezebel is the word I was looking for.
Yeah, there you go. But also famously, on the first season of the show, Jax Taylor and Stassi Schroeder are the kind of main power couple, the kind of heads of both the men and women in the restaurant. But immediately in that first season, Stassi is basically calling out that Jax did cheat on her or that there was something going on. And it only takes until the finale that Jax finally admits that he did cheat on her in Vegas and actually got the other woman pregnant, famously.
Yes. So in that first season, we immediately launch one of the enduring product/branding attempts of Vanderpump Rules. Scheana Marie launches her very first single, What I Like, which is... it is truly a song. Matt, you took some notes on What I Like. This is from February 5th, 2013. It happened right in the first season.
Yes. So we have some reports from Bravo at the time as well as her blog. But they basically described the song as an electropop dance tune. They describe it as a bit reminiscent of Melissa George's Pop Adventures. And on also compared to Lily Britney Spears or Kesha with its production.
Every day. They are waiting on me to fall. I can't even remember how that song goes.
I just remember the episode where they like come on the piano and she starts singing and they're like foyer that has the loudest echo known to me.
What did she write in her blog?
What was that?
What did she write in her blog about this?
Yeah. So on the show itself that you'll see that she does perform the song. Hilariously, this is also when Ariana is not even a main cast member yet, but she does play one of her backup dancers, which comes into play literally as recently as last week, where Scheana makes fun of her for being gone really far from being her backup dancer to now on Dancing with the Stars. She said in her blog, I hadn't done trained dancing in years and picked up the choreography is not as easy as it was when I was 17 as it is when she's 27 at this point. Scheana says singing live for the first time in front of a huge group of people was very stressful because I didn't know if I would look like complete shit or not. Thankfully, apparently her mom actually came in and helped her with the choreo. She said, once I got on stage, it all came back to me. All the performing training I had as a child and through college just came right back in. I took over that stage, splits, booty popping and all.
Whoa.
She also says that she loves to travel around the country to clubs and hear a song being played and get on the mic. And famously, this clip is hilarious. We'll probably put it in the Instagram as well with the episode. But the choreo is a little rough.
It's rough. Ariana has come a long way.
Yeah, Ariana's come a long way. Scheana has also come a long way as well. They're not really in sync, but they're trying.
Wait, I love the idea of Scheana being like in the club And
she's at the Roxy famously too for
but
this performance.
She's like at the club and she hears What I Like and she's like, wait, this is my song. Can somebody get me a mic and I could just start singing? like I love it. Like it's very High School Musical of like the spotlight comes down on her in the club. She's sitting there sipping a Pinot Grigio or whatever the fuck, a vodka soda, and suddenly the DJ puts on display or What I Like or whatever, and she stands up and she's like, this is my song. This is my song. And just a mic descends from the ceiling on a wire along with some backup dancers in gold shorts. And she's like, oh my God, this is my song.
But also,
I have to sing this.
Famously, that mic is at a low volume because it is heavily auto-tuned and she cannot sing it live.
Scheana gives the energy of that one clip of what's her name in the mall singing to her fans, Halsey. Like it's that energy, right? Where she's like, I, by the way, am, what is this, 2013? I'm the 18-year-old in the mall asking Scheana to sing What I Like for me. Oh, God. And she has the thickest black eyeliner you've ever seen.
When she does that performance at the Roxy, though, in the show, literally the whole storyline is that Stassi's there to like hate watch her and make fun of her.
Yes.
Like, I mean, Scheana, we've talked about this before, but Scheana is literally meant to be like the laughing stock of the show.
Yeah.
And they paint it really like embarrassingly for her.
Moving into seasons 3 and 4, 2013 to 2014, why don't you get us through these next two scandals?
So, famously as well, after Jax and Stassi break up, Jax gets with Kristen Dowdy. And that is one of the most probably tumultuous and insane relationships depicted on the show.
Isn't that what Stassi says, like, you're such a bitch and backhands Kristen?
Yes, this is what famously started that. So this is probably one of the most infamous like hookup moments that happened in season 2 when Jax confesses to sleeping with Kristen. Literally the
finale,
whole season.
No less.
What was that?
At the finale, no less.
Yeah. So, I mean, the whole season is literally them being like, did you do it? Did it happen? Like, what's going on? She's like, never. No, absolutely not. They play back so many times because she was lying through her teeth every moment.
Yeah.
So, like I was saying, Kristen initially refused the claim. She finally mentioned that they hooked up but never kissed. That's an important note. During the finale, she basically just sucked his dick from what I've heard, or what we've seen. And apparently it all went down
that's such a sad image, too. Like,
I know. I don't like thinking about it. And of course, it went down when Tom Sandoval was sleeping in the other room and Jax and Kristen were watching the movie Drive.
It's the fact that they were watching the movie Drive that really gets me. It's like,
I think of them whenever I see that movie now.
I'm sorry. If there are like Gen Z people wanting to listen to this podcast and who do listen to this podcast, or even like Gen Alpha, God forbid, you want to know what it was like to be an adult in 2013? It's sucking the dick of some guy on his couch while you watched the movie Drive. That's
well, like
actually,
a white curtain separates you from the rest of the apartment.
And you are in a pair of Urban Outfitters coochie cutter shorts and a white muscle tee that's like too loose, like with sort of like a rocker print on the front.
Yes.
And a exposed black bra. That is actually what it is like. And you maybe have like high top wedge sneakers on. Like that is
especially that.
And a leather boho bag that you got at the thrift store. And you're like, it's so cute. Like, and a tiny little belt, a tiny thin braided belt.
Oh, it's like way too clear. This is, like we said, this is famously what caused one of the best gifts probably to come out of Bravo entirely, which is when Stassi completely backhand slaps Kristen almost to the ground in the finale episode of season 2. Truly, like we say, if you're going to watch Vanderpump Rules, watch it just to get to this point because it is such amazing television. Meanwhile, though, around this time as well, as we get into season 3, Ariana Madix, well, first of all, she joined in season 2 as a more main cast member. But afterwards, this is when basically Kristen and Tom Sandoval were then together by the time of season 3. Kristen apparently had suspicions about Tom's friendship with Ariana because they both used to work. Well, Tom used to work part-time and Ariana worked full-time at Villa Blanca as the bartender.
Yes.
So Kristen's suspicion was that they had been hooking up or something was going kind of suspicious-like at that time until she moves to SUR, and then Kristen kind of sees like something's going on between them. They're weirdly friendly. Yeah. So, well, of course, while both of them denied ever hooking up while Tom was dating Kristen, responding to many of the people on the show, basically calling out that it must have happened, they can tell. Ariana famously declared to Kristen, "I'm smarter than you, I'm prettier than you, get the fuck over it."
Whoa.
However, much like Jax the previous season.
You know, it's funny because this is really the crucible of Vanderpump Rules.
Yes.
One day you're in, the next day you're out. One day you are a raging, misogynistic, anti quote unquote girls girl.
Yep.
I'm more of I'm one of the guys girls. And the next you are the most famous woman on the planet for getting cheated on by said guy. So it really is like an alchemy that is undeniable, but also I think part of the reason why a lot of long-term Vanderpump people found the sort of fervor around Scandival to be so wild, because if you go back and you watch those early seasons, it is all literally history repeating itself.
They're all either victims and or usually it's both victims and perpetrators. Victim one season, perpetrator the next.
It's that cycle, it's truly the crucible of the show.
This is the samsara of the show, let's be honest.
Yeah,
the wheel keeps turning. So famously, they did not admit to anything happening until we get to the season 2 reunion, where Tom eventually admits that he did make out in a pool with Ariana when they were both in Vegas. When asked by Andy Cohen if Ariana was worried about Tom's past after he confessed on cheating with Kristen a few times, Ariana had said, "I have been friends with him for 3 years. I know him really well. It's not a thing for me at all."
Whoa.
Dun, dun, dun.
There's some really harrowing things here. So moving on, we have a fun exchange. Matt, I'm going to have you read for AC and I'm going to read for LVP and LG. So
sounds good.
Lady Gaga was one of the first early celebrities to really get addicted publicly to Vanderpump Rules, and is also sort of one of the origins of how Lisa Vanderpump got involved with Lady Gaga in the first place. So on November 18th, 2013, Lady Gaga shocks the world by tweeting through the Vanderpump Rules and Real Housewives of Miami, my Real Housewives of Miami reunion.
Amazing.
I love this copy from Bravo TV. Lady Gaga's been crazy busy since the release of Art Pop and her stint hosting Saturday Night Live this weekend. Wow. So it's no surprise that her DVR is filling up with her favorite shows. We're just thrilled they're all Bravo picks. So, at LG, at Andy, I'm just catching up on Bravo. Number 1, the back-talking to Mrs. Vanderpump is shocking. Number 2, Real Housewives of Miami reunion should just be called the Unreunion.
What did that even mean, by the way? I'm trying to understand.
I think she's just that season 3 reunion. Remember how nothing got accomplished and they all ended up hating each other more? Yeah. So then Andy Cohen responds.
Yeah, Andy Cohen responds, at Lady Gaga, the back-talking has just begun, Gaga, and Miami was a cacophony of madness with lots of, quote, evidence.
LG, at Andy. Number 3, on what planet does one work at a restaurant and sass their boss and not get fired? 4, Lisa throwing up on the side of the road, hashtag real bitch. LVP responds, quote, thanks, Lady Gaga. I could do with some help over here. Hashtag pump rules. Also, footnote, SNL was bloody amazing. LG, at Lisa Vanderpump. I waitressed since I was 15 in New York.
Of course.
They should be thanking their lucky stripes they have jobs in this economy and a nice boss. Whoa. Lady Gaga comes out anti-workers' rights at LVP. At Lady Gaga. They might not have much longer. Do what you want, these little monsters. LG. So, Andy, they told me that you made a perfume out of my pee from the trash in the Watch What Happens Live dressing room. Long story. You have been warned if he tries to spritz you.
I need to know more.
By the way, that's a true fact. Lady Gaga had to pee in the dressing room in the trash because she couldn't get into a water bottle because of her costume that she wore on Watch What Happens Live.
I did not know
she
about this.
couldn't make it to the bathroom, I guess, or something. And Andy Cohen took that water bottle that was still in there full of her pee and used it to make perfume.
That's
because it was fermenting in there because they didn't know that she had used the trash or something.
I don't even know how to feel about that. That is very fascinating to me though.
Yeah.
It's very horrifying.
So that is then we're moving to December 21st, 2013. Bustle. I'm just getting this from Bustle. Happy New Year's Eve. Here's another Vanderpump Rules song. This was on the show, so I'm just getting this information from Bustle. So on Watch What Happens, not on Watch What Happens Live, on the most recent season of Vanderpump Rules, which at that point is season 2, Scheana debuts her next single, Good as Gold. And as she says, quote, her raw voice requires some auto-tuning to give it the sound she likes. She also concedes that she's neither Mariah Carey nor Britney Spears, but who is really? And then as the lyrics note, come on, you riding shoddy, stop waiting for a sign. You're all out with my hotties. Let's have a good time.
Amazing.
Because we're good as gold. So Ariana, like we said, makes her appearance in season 2 as Tom's alleged mistress. And I love when people get onto reality TV and they weren't trying to do the sort of like traditional LA model thing, because where they give themselves to for press is truly shocking. So last week we talked about how Ariana was in the lingerie football league. She did a bunch of College Humor stuff. She was a Disney princess, which we failed to mention. It was sort of like a minor thing in her life. We were focusing more so on her career prior to Vanderpump Rules, but the fact that she was a Disney princess, thank you to the viewers who also pointed that out to us as well, is, you know, part of that mix as well. She, I believe, was at Disney World, according to her. So this blog title and the title for this post, as well as the copy for it, contains the slur for travelers that starts with a G. So I am just going to leave that word out of this.
Yeah.
I believe travelers is the
Yeah, or
correct-
used for Romani people as well.
Yeah. So, yeah, and I'm speaking specifically like this is a stateside blog.
Yeah.
It's an LA blog that is about, it's called Flower G, and it's like flower power, Coachella fashion,
It's
like boho chic.
So that, and it's so
Yeah.
2013, 2014.
No.
Yeah.
So this is from January 8th, 2014. Our G goddess and cast member of Vanderpump Rules, Ariana Madix, open-heartedly sat down with us to do a little Q&A. Let's just say she's more than just a pretty face. We love this girl. Enjoy, loves.
This is the title.
Yes. It's not even an article. It's like a blog post. But
that
Matt,
makes more sense.
you're going to read for FG, and
Got
I'm
it.
going to read for Ariana Madix.
All right. Do you have a hidden talent?
Parallel parking master.
What is a nickname your friends and family call you?
Air Mad White Chocolate Ari.
Who was your first celeb crush?
Taylor Hanson.
What is your favorite item of clothing in your closet?
My muscle tees.
What are the best/worst pickup lines that you've experienced?
Do you mind if I hang out here till it's safe back where I farted? That's the best. And the worst is, you're beautiful. Why don't you smile?
What would you say is your weirdest phobia?
And you could tell that this was like a chat that they had on Facebook or
Absolutely.
email, because there's a text emoji. It's the colon with the diagonal backslash.
Yeah.
So it's like the sort of like face.
Yeah.
Ocean waves.
Tell us a sport you kick ass at.
Horseback riding, 3-day eventing, and show jumping state champion.
And your best stress reliever?
Meditation.
What would be the best prank you've ever played on somebody?
I've had a hand in surprising 2 of my friends for their engagements. I'm good at keeping secrets. I'm also very good at drawing penises on faces.
Sorry, I'm just picturing exactly this archetype, and it's far too much. It really fits into the like female jackass that we got into last episode.
Just wait. Just keep going. It gets better.
Favorite thing to do on a Saturday night, if not working?
Have a wine and video game night.
Your guilty pleasure would be?
America's Next Top Model and Britney Spears.
I'm sorry, I was Britney Spears a guilty pleasure. Okay, anyway.
Just wait. Just go.
You could say that you're totally addicted to?
And I mean, same girl, dirty chai lattes.
Tea. What was the best gift ever given to you so far?
Very tough call. I have the most thoughtful friends and family.
That's the best. Sorry. Comfort food you most crave?
Mom's lemon potatoes and dad's scrambled eggs.
What is the best compliment you've ever been given?
When someone compliments my character or intelligence or one of those little things about myself that I'm not sure is a good or bad thing, like my sass.
Something people have wrong about you, which is so annoying, would be...
Matt.
Stop, I know.
When I read this, it literally was like, the Dune music. Wait. No, not that one. It's the one where they go. Let me see if I can do the Dune music.
It's very
quick.
hard.
That music. Right? Isn't that how
it's
it
like
goes?
the battle cry one, yeah.
Yeah, wait. Before we continue, let me just hear it again. Music. Wow.
It still sounds like Kurt Humble to me.
It does. Whoa. Wait, I've never heard that. But here, let me give it one more shot. No, wait. Nagita.
Oh my God.
Wait. I can't do it. I can't stop doing it.
You need the vocal training, mama.
She goes, quote, can you actually add that over me reading this? I've been told I have low energy or an attitude, and I think people who say that don't understand me at all. No, stop! I literally, Shia Luna's coming to me like the spice dreams are here. Like, I literally was like, all of my past and future selves are converging in this
hate
moment.
you. I cannot.
No, but doesn't it? It's just one of those things where I'm like, she always knew. She always knew that she couldn't give us what it is that we wanted from her. Okay, keep going. Sorry.
The next question she asked. Stop. This is easy question. Favorite color? Go.
Green.
What was your first job?
Receptionist for Cameron Realty, owned by my grandmother and uncle.
How many pets do you have, if any?
I've had one at one point, 14 pets of varying species. I currently only have 3, Charlotte, Kitty, and Raven, my horse.
Last question. Dream vacation?
My dream vacation would be an adventure covering the many different landscapes and atmospheres of Japan, leaving no stone unturned.
The pick-me energy is a little crazy. Enough! Like, been there.
Okay, so in March 26th, we're gonna just like really briefly fly through this. Lady Gaga and Lisa Vanderpump, Kyle Richards, and some of the other Real Housewives of Beverly Hills cast appear in Lady Gaga's GUI, making good on the promise of her little interlude on Twitter last year. There's an interview about this. We have it linked in the notes. We're not going to read it here. So in April of 2014, Stassi starts to actually sort of rebrand herself after exiting the show post season 2. She's sort of like, I'm done with this, guys. Like, it's so toxic. I'm moving to New York with my new boyfriend, Patrick, and it's going to be like a big deal. Yada, da, da, da. So Stassi serves up a reality check. This is on the blog Pinky to Posh.
Wow.
Which is not publishing anymore. I think it stopped in like 2018 from what I could tell.
So.
Yeah. So Matt, you're going to read the interview questions like always because you're in charge here.
Yes.
You're the guy under me.
G-U-Y.
I wanna be that. Okay, let's go.
How has the transition been for you moving from Los Angeles to New York?
It has been really nice and only solidified my choice to be here instead of LA. I have found that New Yorkers are super friendly and open-minded, so it hasn't been difficult to meet new people. It's been so much easier than I imagined it would be to make new friends and develop business relationships. I also love being downtown, walking to Soho, and creating new experiences. Baby, I'm telling you, every experience you could have ever had in Soho has already been experienced, but go off, queen.
Can you tell me a little bit about your blog and what you're currently working on?
I am working with a web designer right now, and my blog will be fashion-focused but relatable for teens and women. I love relatable for teens and women, like two people famously who generally, as they get older, have less and less in common. I follow other blogs such as House of Harper, Damsel in Dior, Song of Style, and Pink Peonies, just to name a few. Wow. Talk about 2014. However, in my blog, I will be highlighting such stores as H&M and Zara, along with their affordable items that will look just as amazing as designer brands. I really want women to feel good about themselves and relate to the fashionable yet affordable pieces I will be featuring.
Work. So,
really the unexpected happens this year. No one could have ever seen this coming. In April 12th, 2014, Eater LA reports that Lisa Vanderpump is opening Pump Lounge in West Hollywood. Now, this reads like an obituary from the past, not to make the Dune soundtrack happen here again, but it really is just sort of like coming back to me now. Okay, so take a stroll through the expansive Pump Lounge from Lisa Vanderpump. Owner Matt literally has his button on the mute, like his finger on the mute button. Like, I will silence this fucking bitch if she sings one more time. Take a stroll through the expansive Pump Lounge from Lisa Vanderpump, owner of Sir and Villa Blanca and star of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills and Vanderpump Rules. Soft open tomorrow, but rolling hard on May 16th. The kitchen is helmed by Penny DeViti, who recently cooked on Food Network star. This three-piece lounge is filled with celebrity power from the get-go. Now, Penny DeViti, for those of you in the know, is the infamous Chef Penny, who on the most recent episode of Vanderpump Rules, which we just recapped on Monday,
she is a legend,
said, "What is your favorite kind of cured meat?"
Amazing work.
This is the part that reads like the obituary. Inside, a swanky garden patio laden with olive trees and stuffed with plenty of comfortable banquettes for stargazing while grazing on bites by DeViti. The interior features in details personally appointed by Vanderpump and inspired by her time in France. That means glitzy, colorful frills, wrought iron lamps that could scare a giant, push pillows galore, and an impressive collection of crystal-laden chandeliers. The patio is sure to become a hotspot for Hollywood types, or at least the aspiration ones.
LMAO.
So on that same season wrap up, they're getting into, at this point, season 3. That fall, after season 2 has wrapped, they filmed again. The season has commenced. In October 11th specifically, the Sydney Morning Herald had this headline that I stumbled on, and I was like, wait a minute. So I did some more digging, but I'll read to you what I found in the Sydney Morning Herald first. Vanderpump Rules Lothario. I love that the Australian press calls him a Lothario.
That's amazing.
Jax Taylor says his love life is in shambles, and I was like, why is the Sydney Morning Herald talking about this? The 35-year-old Sir bartender from the popular reality series Vanderpump Rules has been meeting and greeting fans with castmate Tom Sandoval across Australia. And I went, excuse? I was like, excuse me? Tom Sandoval, Tom and Jax tour across Australia in 2014. So the Daily Telegraph had more information about this. Just wait. So Vanderpump Rules stars Tom Sandoval and Jax Taylor drum up a bigger Aussie audience. This is from earlier in the week. So it is the American reality series, which has already garnered a group of die-hard fans. But the stars of Vanderpump Rules are keen for an even bigger Australian audience. That's why Jax Taylor and Tom Sandoval are visiting from the US for a promotional tour, which is taking in key cities from Sydney to Darwin. It's wonderful to be here, says Taylor, although he has visited before because he has a strong family link. My mother's Australian. She grew up in Adelaide. So this is interesting also because if you really think about it, like season 3 is sort of like a pivotal moment. The show has sort of broken through on the internet and in sort of like the blogging, vulture reading, young millennial crowd that are sort of like reinvesting their time back into Bravo. We have shows that are sort of like starting to appeal to them. I mean, pretty soon Summer House is going to premiere for the first time. And I think that this was really a key moment for Bravo to sort of rope in a younger audience again, who will then grow up with these stars and are now, I would say, like pretty old. I mean, by that, I mean like approaching 40, in their 40s. Like that was sort of the audience they were targeting at the time, though, that like young professional millennial crowd.
And I mean,
that was a little different.
Worth it, obviously.
It was, yeah. It was a different crowd than the sort of like sophisticated New York glitterati that they were appealing to in the beginning. And I would say also that with the introduction of Vanderpump Rules, as we talked about in our last episode, that shift away from sort of like high to low brow, this is more the shift to low to highbrow. And with that appeal to sort of like a younger millennial market, I would say that is also the point when that younger millennial market starts to find the Housewives to be like fun trash rather than like sophisticated interior windows into the lives of America's elite. It's sort of like, no, I want to watch my clowns get on TV and scream at each other.
More fights.
It's like,
more fights.
More fights. More fights. So it's interesting too, if you really think about it, that at the apex of season 3, Tom and Jax were the faces of the show abroad. Like, times have fucking changed, but let's not forget where
Tom
we came from.
Still the face.
At one point, Tom Sandoval was the surefire bet to market this show overseas, and it's funny in a way because it's still true 10 years later. Like,
and Jax is now back in the fold, so
yeah, I know. And it's also crazy because the show premieres in 2013, and by the end of 2014, they're already on season 3. So, like, they just jump right into production, right? Like, they filmed season 2 in 2013, they filmed season 3 in 2014. And it's just interesting to see that, like, it was such an immediate success that, like, from the point of it starting to air in January of 2013, like, they only had an 8-episode order, right? So like it was sort of a crazy bet to think that like it went from that immediately into a full season order for season 2, and like just how fast that must have started because that pilot was filmed and they didn't know what was going to happen with it, right? Okay. So we're going to have later that month, in the beginning of November, Ariana joins Vanderpump Rules officially as a full-time cast member. This is after she has been brought on in season 2 as a friend of, who sort of like appears in the periphery of that season. Now she's a full-time cast member. She's dating Tom. She becomes sort of like a staple of the show, and she gets interviewed by Florida Today because she hails from Melbourne, Florida. Matt, why don't you get this for us?
Yes. So Florida Today chatted with Ariana Madix about social media, the space program, and what reminds her of home. So I'll do the questions here if you want to take over Ariana's.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Let's do it.
What can you tell me about the show?
When we are first able to see the trailer, of course, that gives you butterflies. You never know what's going to make it and not make it. I've been an actor forever. Like a lot of people, I started out doing theater when I was fairly young. I got a degree in theater and moved to New York to pursue acting. Then I moved here to LA to keep that going. I've done a couple TV shows here and there. Vanderpump Rules is a chance for people to see who I am as a person. It's also kind of, my best friend and now my boyfriend are also involved. The place that I work is involved. It's kind of hard to avoid it.
How has social media helped you as an actress?
I use Instagram and Twitter most. I was late to one of those things because I was probably one of the last people to get an iPhone. I had a BlackBerry for a very long time. I wish it was less important, but I guess there are pros and cons to it because it is a really quick, convenient way to interact with people that you don't know, who live near you, don't get to see all the time, and who don't know you at all.
I'm sorry, the BlackBerry thing, like, pick me, choose me, love
Shut
me.
up. Also, I just think that it is like interesting again that like in the beginning, you know, they're 3 seasons in now, and she is coming in at season 3 thinking that like like the other cast members, this is her ticket in.
Yeah.
That this is her chance to make it in Hollywood, right? And it's truly interesting that for 10 years, that is not true. And the one thing that changes it for her is getting cheated on.
It's getting horribly
That is what opens the door, right?
The public.
That's really what we're talking about this episode. That's why we did this episode in the first place and why we're making it sort of a long one, because we're sort of like laying out the groundwork for like how long these people truly tried to pop off.
Yeah.
And failed. Failed.
Do you want to see me pop
Okay.
off? Then they do.
If you have something that you really want to tell a whole bunch of people, you can do that. I think it's great in some ways. You have the trolls, the internet trolls. They just make these accounts so they can go on people's pages and say mean things to them. Then they want to talk about class. Ridiculous. I'll be tweeting and reading a lot of them. It's hard to keep up sometimes. I will respond to nice, intelligent people.
LOL. It's funny because there are parallels to how she kind of talks here with how she just talked in the after show last night. I haven't seen the episode yet, but I saw a clip from the after show where I think it was them kind of talking about how Scheana was getting like roasted in the comments of all of her posts. And
Yeah.
that whole thing came up of why can't Ariana just like make a post about it? Like acknowledge the haters and tell them to back off me. And Ariana very much is like, I feel like you just have to ignore these people. There's no reason to respond to trolls like this or people who are saying crazy things like this, because the more you respond to it, it becomes the main thing. If you just ignore them, they'll move on to something else. And I was like, true, honestly. She's kind of right. It seems like that she's been that way for a long time. Anyway,
Yeah.
she also
talks about her inner nerd, Matt.
yes. Yeah, what brings out your inner nerd?
She says, being from the Space Coast, signs in space, yada, yada, yada. Anything space related, I geek out pretty hard. I feel like it's in my, I wouldn't say blood, but it's in my roots, my history. She also really geeks out over The Walking Dead, she says, quote, it's my favorite show since forever. I fantasize about a zombie apocalypse. What would I do? If a zombie busted into the room, we'll make a pretend plan. First, secure the area. Then you've got to make sure you've got some sort of weapon, which you then may have to make or find something that you can use. And then you decide where you're going to go. It's fun. And I just had a thought about this while I read this interview for the first time.
The vice grip that show had on
Do you think that she and Tom ever talked about like zombie apocalypse scenarios?
100,000%. That's probably what they bonded on, honestly.
That's all I wanted to ask. Okay, last question.
What should viewers know about Vanderpump?
I want people to know that it's not a misconception. People need to know that it's not scripted. I think people need to know that there are no bad edits. The people need to know. She just keeps repeating it. Sorry. I just had to sing it out before I continued because that was an intrusive thought and I let it win. You are who you are on the show. It's really hard, but it's also fun. It's a lot of work. In real life, if you don't like somebody, you don't talk to somebody. But in this situation, you don't have to. That's hard. You have to, excuse me. That's hard. If you don't like you, if I don't like you, you don't exist in my world. In this show, I'm not really allowed to do that. I've got things to do I don't necessarily want to do. But at the end of the day, we do have a lot of fun, and the true friendships, they're real. And it's funny that, again, back even in 2014, she's only one season in, and she's like, if I don't like you, I'm not filming with you. You can't make me do what I don't want to do. I am going to stick my guns and stick to my boundaries. And we really see her do that throughout her time on the show. But as we see in this interview and the last one, she really does like brand herself as sort of like the alternative girl.
Oh,
she's like
absolutely
different, against the grain. I'm not your normal LA type of girl. I'm a cool girl. Really is.
That's
very much
the heart
it.
of it, really.
And she, I think 10 years later, has the Amy Dunn haircut. So she sort of has fulfilled that role in a way. You know, I think the best thing that she possibly could do at this point that would just make me stand for life is if this whole thing was sort of like an Amy Dunn Gone Girl experiment. Like, I would love her forever. I really would. I would love her forever. If she has been Gone Girling Tom Sandoval this whole time, like, I couldn't name a better woman. She's probably not, and I still obviously say Slay Queen to many things, but that would just really be it for me.
The ultimate Slay Queen.
They should recast Gone Girl. Like, they should do Gone Girl.
What about stage production?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Mama,
they should
Broadway
do
play.
A Broadway play of Gone Girl and cast her as Amy, because she's got that little haircut, the little. You can't see my head right now, but I'm doing the like side to side bob haircut
the
move.
little Bobby Bob.
So shout out Jezebel. Jezebel gets a little feature in this episode. Ellie from Jezebel, writer from back in the day, says, quote, I chugged Sauv Blanc with Kristen, the villain of Vanderpump Rules. This is from March 18th, 2015. This is at the tail end of season 3. And I'm just going to read this because it is really... So Kristen's interviews this year in particular, we're going to stop before we get to the next one and sort of catch up on the drama. But something that I really loved about these interviews is everyone wants to get drunk with Kristen. Like it's sort of like the defining characteristic of everyone's interactions with her is like, let's get drunk. So in this interview, Ellie writes that, she had a cold. She wanted to get Kristen drunk without drinking too much myself, but Kristen was going sip for sip, and Ellie's tolerance isn't what she thought it was, and she ended up getting hammered while Kristen stayed relatively sober. She says, quote, after the interview, I invited Kristen back to the Gawker offices, which was in retrospect a bad idea. Nobody got up to say hi to her, except a very flushed Kate Dries, but someone did start playing Kristen's baby-voiced co-star Scheana's Marie's hit single, Good as Gold, over the office sound system. Quote, who the fuck is playing that song, demanded Kristen, finally giving me the confrontation I craved, but tragically saving it for after the cameras were gone. I know one of you assholes is playing this, she yelled wildly at a silent room of cowardly nerds typing furiously at each other.
Oh my God.
I was too drunk to deal with this alone and just sort of swayed back and forth, making sympathetic noises. I'm going to call Scheana, she announced, which seemed to be a questionable choice considering Kristen had recently described their relationship as not chill. Kristen put Scheana on speaker, quote, I'm at Gawker and some asshole is playing your song. Then she handed the phone to me. Hi, Scheana, I gurgled. Hi, Ellie, Scheana sighed. I have to go. I stared blankly at my computer screen for the rest of the day, too drunk and excited to blog.
Who the fuck is playing this song?
So, Stassi gets one last interview of the season as she bids adieu to Vanderpump Rules. This is in Millenium magazine, and this is from April 15th, 2015. The Los Angeles resident speaks about her experiences on Vanderpump, taking life in a new direction, and her time as a stalker. We're going to ignore most of that. But as Stassi writes in this, quote, the hardships of filming the show, Stassi's time on Vanderpump Rules opened new doors and opportunities. Attending fashion shows at the Mercedes-Benz New York Fashion Week was an exciting benefit that Stassi was able to enjoy. She attended the shows by designers Charlotte Ronson, Zhang Toy, and Erin Featherston. Quote, I swear to God, I did the show to go to Fashion Week 3 years ago. I thought, should I do this? I just want to make it to Fashion Week. With her love of fashion and sense of style, Stassi started her blog, Style by Stassi. She had an obsession for reading fashion blogs. When she relocated from LA to New York, her new boyfriend, Patrick Meagher, encouraged her to start her own blog. As Stassi continued her path in fashion, she recently partnered with Shop Prima Donna and designed her first line of jewelry. She started with a line of statement necklaces at moderate price points so that women of all budgets can enjoy her pieces. Quote, I love the fact that you can shop Prima Donna is so affordable because when you buy statement jewelry, you don't want to spend a lot of money. You're only going to wear it a few times. They wanted me to do everything, but I wanted to start with statement necklaces. It's kind of my thing right now. It's what I love.
Those ugly chunky necklaces.
She also says that she is starting a podcast, Straight Up with Stassi.
Well.
Quote, with her sassy humor and willingness to make fun of herself, Stassi was given her own weekly talk show to talk about anything. And this is really one of the things that kept coming back to me this episode in particular is like Stassi, more than any of the cast, was the actual breakout star of Vanderpump Rules.
Oh,
Scheana
100%.
made headlines for being a buffoon, and Tom Sandoval made music and sort of was like infamous, and Jax was a little infamous, but like Stassi was the one who actually turned being in Vanderpump Rules universe into like a legitimate career that she made money doing. She was getting talked about. She was going to fashion shows. She wasn't like A-lister by any means. She wasn't even a B-lister. She was barely grazing at D-lister. She was still climbing up from the Z-list. But like this is like really, I think, such a time capsule into both the type of person that was primed to be popular in 2015 and also what worked best on this show, which was having a singular personality, knowing how to brand yourself with that singular personality, and then selling that personality back to people, right? Straight Up with Stassi tells you everything you need to know in the headline, right? You know she's a bitch. Quote, I am the devil, and don't you forget it. All of these things
Episode
are
1.
sort of like true to Stassi's character. She would bitch slap Kristen in her own words. She would talk shit about people, but then also make fun of herself. She was like classically that girl that's like, I'm pretty, but I'm also weird. But like
Oh, what was it? The ranch on pizza thing she never would stop. Oh.
the ranch on pizza she never let go of. She really branded herself as like, I'm basic, I'm everyone's friend, but I'm also everyone's
She
enemy.
kind of is like critical to the like millennial like blogger.
No,
not blogger, but like
Stassi,
the millennial podcast archetype.
If you guys did not
Very LA white
have
girl version
the
of it, of course.
unfortunate experience of growing up in California in the 2010s or being an adult in California in like professional environments in the 2010s, if you want to know what millennial women could be distilled into as primary archetypes, Stassi is one of them. Kristen is also one of them, but I would say Stassi more so represents a huge swath of people that are just so quintessential to understanding the fabric of LA culture, but also California culture at that time, right? Like the Revolve customer distilled. Truly
yes,
distilled.
that's a perfect way to describe it.
Yeah. And we'll get a little bit into the Revolve thing a little bit later, but it is funny because, like, again, considering where we end up, everything that makes Stassi famous and popular is also her undoing in the end.
Girl, I mean, that podcast got canceled when that all
That's
went
what I'm
down.
saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It is her
The
downfall.
book deal, everything.
So let's go back to the scandal timeline and talk about 2014, 2015.
Yes. So we then have the introduction of Miami Girl.
Dun, dun,
I feel
dun,
like that's the
dun.
bread and butter of the show, really, is Miami Girl. Because it takes a long
it all
time
really
to like...
hinges on Miami Girl, doesn't it?
What was that?
It all hinges on Miami Girl,
It kind of
doesn't it?
does. So,
And remember that? Remember how, wasn't it Kristen that said years later that like they invited Miami Girl to the restaurant to confront Ariana and Tom,
Yes.
but nobody would film with her, including
Yes.
Ariana. So she
Yes.
had brought a friend with her from Miami after being flown out by production and just sort of sat outside on the curb crying for like an hour while everyone just like made fun of her.
It's crazy. So as we mentioned earlier,
including Ariana.
so as we mentioned earlier, quite literally, Kristen cheats on Tom with Jax. Then Tom admits later to cheating on Kristen with Ariana. Now Tom and Ariana are together and enter Miami Girl. So after Tom and Ari announced that they were officially together in season 3, Kristen revealed in the same season that a woman reached out to her on Instagram claiming to have hooked up with Tom while he was in Miami with Jackson Schwartz. It always happens when all the boys go on their own vacations. Like almost always someone is getting
That's where I'm
pregnant
like,
or,
what was happening in Australia in 2014?
Someone should speak. Kristen even brought Miami Girl to SUR to confront Tom, but Ariana didn't take the allegations seriously after Tom vehemently denied the claims and the couple left. At the time, however, Jax threw his friend under the bus by backing up the claim. After Tom and Ariana's 2023 breakup, Jax, who left the show in 2020, tweeted this cryptic message. I've called a lot of things on that show that people never believed. Everything I say always ends up being true in regards to Miami Girl.
Oh, God. Okay, so then you have some Tom Schwartz stuff.
Yes. Not really like there's not much that's so concrete here, but after Tom Schwartz, and this is between 2014 to like 2017, really. So skipping a tad ahead, but Tom Schwartz and Katie Maloney got married in 2016, one of the worst weddings ever documented on television. He confessed to drunkenly making out with one of Lala Kent's friends in season 6. When Schwartz was asked about the story, of course, his memory is very fuzzy. He says, there's no way. No, it couldn't have been. This is in a 2018 episode later on. Yeah, I remember going to the bungalow, but I definitely don't remember making out with anybody. I got shit-faced that night. I remember that. Schwartz later addressed his behavior in a confessional, admitting, I truly and honestly am baffled. But it wasn't the first time Schwartz cheated on Katie while he was blackout drunk. He also admitted later that year to kissing another woman while he was inebriated during the filming of season 3. just
And we're
amazing.
getting all this from E! Online, by the way. Thank you for the write-up
Yes.
of
They had some
this.
great compilings here because truly the triage of it all.
Yeah.
And then we also have James Kennedy start to enter the mix around this time, which, woo, what a doozy. So after Kristen breaks up with Tom, or they have that long breakup, James Kennedy ends up becoming Kristen's new BF. So after some work on Kristen's part, including looking at a lot of Uber receipts, Kristen basically was able to deduce that James Kennedy had cheated on her with one of Scheana's friends during the filming of season 4. He, of course, denied it to her face, only saying that they may have kissed, but later admitted in the confessional, the truth is Jen and I were definitely boning. I remember that. So we're screaming when that scene. It really just like cuts to him. Oh yeah, we were definitely fucking.
Okay, so let's keep going now. So Tom Sandoval wants to be touching in public in funky new music video. This is from November 9th, 2015. This is in ET. It's an exclusive interview with Mr. Tom Sandoval. So for those of you who remember watching season 4 of Vanderpump Rules, you might remember Tom Sandoval's short-lived band, Charles McMansion, which is such an awful name for a band. It's one of the worst. It's one of the worst names. And it has
despicable.
Like the Charles Manson of it all aside, it's just like not a good name. Like it's bad. Like it's a bad
It doesn't
band
sound
name.
like a band name.
No, it's a horrible name for a band. So I've been in a lot of bands and I just want you to know that's a bad band. I actually haven't been in any bands. So, okay. Quote, well, Sandoval and his new bandmate, Isaac Cappy, want to touch in public. The guys have teamed up to form Charles McMansion, a duo Sandoval describes as modern blues brothers, and ET Online has the exclusive premiere of the group's first music video single for their debut single, Touch in Public, TIP.
I'm sorry, that is also wretched. Like,
awful. It's so
touch
bad.
in public, like, ooh.
So Sandoval has a quote here to ET, quote, have you ever had like a day where you're like so high on life and you're like, I'm going to go out. You walk in the bar and you're just vibing off the music and maybe you see somebody else is just feeling your vibe and you kind of come together and your energy and your attitude, everything, positiveness, sort of like it's an infectious vibe that takes over the whole space.
This is literally his like precog moment of him and Rachel. Like this is
it's also what he said
it
about,
is.
well, Matthew.
Oh,
do you know what I say to that? Hare Nagina.
I hate you.
Because just wait. So Scheana Shay isn't afraid to tell it like it is. I'm getting this in Sharp magazine. And Matthew, I want you to click on these photos. This is from January 8th, 2016. This is an interview that Scheana Shay does. And, you know, her other cast members are talking about their fashion careers and their acting careers and their love lives and just wait. And their music video premieres. And this is what Scheana Shay is doing.
These are not the most flattering.
Describe the photos to me.
I don't even know how to begin. Well, a lot of them are topless. Her just covering.
They're actually all topless.
They're pretty much all topless. Her hair and her arms are basically covering her chest there. It's all happening tattoo, full display. We have some in ripped denim jeans. We have some where the coat is covering her chest area and also very, very short shorts. Like, I don't even know how to describe them. They're almost like underwear. And yeah, we also have one with the slick back hair. That one's a bit more tasteful. That one's a bit better.
I think the one in the jeans is actually, she looks so good in that photo.
She looks good. It's just some of it is just a little.
But the one in the suede moto jacket in the black panties is just like,
Mama,
my God.
Send in a better stylist, please.
Okay, so Matt, read this intro for me because truly I was like, oh, Scheana, like, it could not be clearer that it was not all happening for Scheana in 2016. Go for it.
If a salacious reality show about women who party, scream, and throw drinks and or a few slaps, referencing the iconic slap between Stassi and Kristen, isn't your idea of worthwhile television, then you probably haven't had the chance to meet Scheana Shay, and that is a tragedy. The stunning 30-year-old actress has spent 4 seasons on Vanderpump Rules, a spinoff of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Barring her outsized personality to viewers week in and week out, Scheana Shay has a reputation for telling it like it is. We decided to hit her up for a quick round of Would You Rather? Oof.
So let's talk about it.
In a place of Would You Rather.
You do interviewer and I'll do Scheana.
Sounds good. Would you rather be on Jersey Shore or The Bachelor?
The Bachelor, I would win or be in like top 2 at least.
Can we get her on The Bachelor? Actually, like, don't who cares
Keep
about Brock?
going.
Sorry. Would you never speak again or have to say absolutely everything that comes to your mind?
I'd say everything that comes to my mind. I basically do that already.
Would you rather be able to change the past or see into the future?
I changed the past. I don't want to know what's going on in the future. I don't like surprises, but I also don't want to know if I die at like 32 or something. I'd rather go back and right some wrongs.
Would you rather have no knees or no elbows?
Oh, that's a tough one. I guess I would have to go with no knees because like, how would I put my eyelashes on with no elbows?
Would you rather have child-sized hands or child-sized feet?
I have the feet the size of a child's anyways, so that's an easy choice.
Would you rather always have your first name spelled wrong or pronounced wrong?
Spelled wrong. I'm so used to it. But people can spell it however they want. But I hate hearing all the different ways they think it's pronounced. Scheana, Scheana, Scheana. I'm starting to introduce myself as Shay just because it's so much easier for everyone.
I love how all of these are her being like, I'm already living that reality.
But also, like,
she's like, already there, babe. Already there.
This is like the only interview and photo cover shoot that she gets, like, in the entire first 4 seasons of the show. Meanwhile, Stassi's like, I have a burgeoning fashion career. I'm at Fashion Week. Tom Sandoval's like, I've released 3 music videos. Scheana's like, I'd love to have feet the size of a child's because I already have feet the size of a child's. And I need my elbows to put my eyelashes on.
It's too much. It's far too much.
I literally was like, I actually can't process this, nor am I taking this information on, but I will show that photo to everyone I know. Okay. She also gets this the same month, by the way. Her publicist was working overtime in 2016. Yes, he was. Yes, he was working overtime in 2016. Why did I say that like Mike's Mike? Quote, Vanderpump Rules star Scheana Shay, no longer the other woman.
Wow. That's brutal.
Whoa. Okay. You read for Fox 411 and I'll read for Shay.
Amazing. One of the things a lot of reality stars are doing is taking all their passions into different passions. Taking all their passions into different passions. And for you, makeup is one of them.
Yes, it is. I've had my signature line for about a year, but now I'm thinking that this is kind of over. I want to do my own thing and just focus on one item, and that is eyelashes.
Ooh, those are some nice eyelashes.
I always get asked how I do my eyelashes. It's a very specific technique. There's a strip, and then there's just like half, and then there's individuals. And we were just like, why don't we market this instead of trying to sell so many items? So many manufacturers, so many. So I was like, why don't we just end that and just like start fresh with one item and see how it does? So, by the way,
I was going to say,
these eyelashes she talks about are called Viva Verano. And she launched them in 2022. So it took her about 10 years to get the... No, sorry. That's not true.
8?
It took
6?
her 8 years to get... Is 6 years.
6 years,
We
yeah.
can't do math. Don't ask us to do math. It took her 6 years to get the eyelashes off the ground. Which, like... Sure.
You know what? Something about her at this point, it's on the same track.
So Viva Verano apparently translates to long live summer.
Oh.
So
Go off.
okay, Matthew, I want you to read the first like 2 full-sized bullets of this, if you don't mind. This
Okay.
is a interview of Jax Taylor in Complex from the same season, March 2nd, 2016. This is an interview in Complex. And actually, Complex was interviewing a lot of the Vanderpump Rules stars. Stassi also got an interview in Complex, but it was basically a rehash of an interview that we're going to have with her a little bit later. So we're going to skip that interview. But this Jax Taylor interview was very... Sorry, I can't
In a
keep
place
doing
of
this.
Dune 2.
But this is a place of Dune 2 for me because you will see why in a second when we get through this. But why don't you start reading and get through these like first two major indents here that we have on the first page?
Yeah. The bartender on shift at Sir tonight is like Jax in that his jawline is wider than the top of his head, and he behaves with very liberating assumption that everyone wants to fuck him. Wow, that's a strong opener. As the happy hour rush ends and the jalapeno margaritas and goat cheese balls, another item featured on the show, are cleared away, I ask him if he's jealous of Jax and the others. No way. The producers keep asking me to do the show. I say, with all due respect, it's not for me. I'm out here to act, right? I'm not going to get caught up in all that. I finish my goat cheese balls and ask the bartender what he thinks will happen to the Vanderpump crew now that the show has finally run its course. Wow, that's crazy to say that in 2016. He grins and says, ask Jax that at the gym tomorrow. He might fucking punch you in the face, but you should ask him. The next morning, Jax is late. So is this PR person, who I've got to meet before I'm allowed to meet Jax, which is kind of ludicrous considering that I spent the night at the very public bar where he works. And our meeting today is at an LA Fitness where any old riffraff can go. Not even a fucking Equinox? When Jax shows up a half hour late, he's wearing the same outfit I saw on Instagram last night. He apologizes and says he's too hungover to work out, and if it's okay with us, can we maybe just go hang out at the IHOP? A lot of Jax's Instagram account involves him thanking other people for hooking up with the awesome stuff. Hotel suites, sneakers, without supplements. And then there are the club appearances, usually him and one of the Toms, his best buddies from Vanderpump, drinking at establishments with names like Liquid and Taboo, partying for pay in the greater LA area, in NYC, in Tallahassee, and other random college towns. None of this is a dirty secret, of course. At this point, we can call it the Scott Disick economy, and it's ubiquitous as Uber. Yeah, there are always those opportunities, Jack says, but the other ones take advantage of that way more than me. I'm used to, but I'm old. I'm 36. I'm too tired for all that. He seems to mean this, but it's a bit dubious, considering that it's noonish on a Tuesday I'm at an IHOP where he's just now seeming to no longer be drunk after a night of complimentary skybox parties at the Staples Center. Throughout our conversation, I keep pushing about money, and he finally says, put it this way, if I'm smart about it and I live reasonably, I'll be good for the rest of my life.
Whoa.
That's fantastic, honestly. It's
Whoa.
fantastic.
This is like interesting to me, and one of the things that I wanted to include it in here for is that the writer calls it, as he says, quote, we can call it the Scott Disick economy, and it's as ubiquitous as Uber. I think that's a great way of saying it, right? Where like Jax and by association the Toms and later James Kennedy, who sort of ride on those coattails, become famous for sort of doing the same exact thing that the Jersey Shore men had gotten famous for doing in years prior, which is sort of the club circuit, Liquid, Taboo, partying in LA and NYC and Tallahassee, as this writer Lucas Mann points out, other random college towns making like bar appearances, college bar appearances, that sort of thing. And as the writer points out, is sort of enjoying the benefits of Vanderpump Rules via things like appearances at NASCAR for free, parties at the Staples Center in a free skybox with friends. And all of it is sort of opaque how it actually generates money for Jax. But there is a way where you can sort of see it as the access that it provides him to this partying lifestyle is the payment. And that is like, I think really what we can describe as this writer points out again, the Scott Disick economy. He writes a little bit later in the piece, this very interesting diatribe that I want to focus on for just a second about celebrities and Vanderpump Rules, because that was something that, I mean, celebrities have always watched Bravo, right? The success of Watch What Happens Live is because these are Andy's celebrity friends, many of them also Zionists, who, also watch the Bravo shows, love the references, know about the Housewives, are like sort of like cutting up with the Housewives on TV on the after show, right? Like that's what the success of this is, right? You get to see Julia Roberts get on Watch What Happens Live and say that Dorit's pretty woman date was weird because it was uncomfortable because she watched it on her DVR. Like that's why we like love Watch What Happens Live. So he talks sort of about that celebrity culture, but about Vanderpump Rules specifically. Quote, after all, Immediately after Jax expresses a desire to be done with fame, we start talking about Jennifer Lawrence. They were on Watch What Happens Live together, and when they were hanging out in the green room before the show, she was starstruck by him. Quote, she was like, I'm obsessed with you. She wanted to know everything about me. She had opinions on everything, and I'm like shitting myself because she's Jennifer Lawrence. She's the biggest actress on the planet. A few months ago, he was at some industry party and he ended up meeting Robert De Niro because Robert De Niro's wife is such a big fan and wanted a picture. Another time, he and Lisa Vanderpump had dinner with Lady Gaga, and Gaga spent the whole dinner going, did you really do that? She knew more than Jax than he did. He says he's at the bottom rung of fame, but still, it's a lie at this point to pretend he isn't some sort of celebrity. And no other celebrities have to go play the part of normal at a popular LA restaurant. The show hasn't allowed the narrative to evolve with the lives of its characters, as Jax notes to the interviewer. And this is really, I think, a turning point for the show where their star is sort of eclipsing, finally, 4 seasons in, the premise of the show, and is really where we start to see a turn in really what happens on the show. They fly in a bunch of new characters to sort of ease that transition. This is pre-Tom Tom, by the way, too. So think about that, right? Like, Tom Tom hasn't existed yet, but they are clearly too famous and too affluent, right? Tom Schwartz drove a fucking Audi and he didn't have a job to be waitresses at a LA bar. So they're sort of in this like weird gray zone where it's like, do they really work there? Do they really work there? Are they actually working there? Do they need the show to make money? Is the show real, right? And that artifice gets called into question, and you see people like Jax, you see later Stassi when she leaves, Kristen when she leaves, sort of like rail up against the guardrails put in place by Alex Baskin and Lisa Vanderpump that like, this is a show about the restaurant. This is a show that cannot evolve beyond the restaurant. This is a show that prior to Scandival, let's be very clear here, needed Ariana and Katie to open up a sandwich shop so that they could bring in new people, to keep the narrative going that this is a show about people who have restaurants or work in restaurants.
And it already was like,
and
okay, sure, Jan, but...
Can I say that is really what I think has happened with the Something About Her thing, though? Like, if I was to give my real opinion about it here on this podcast that we do, I think Something About Her came into play prior to Scandival.
Yeah.
They needed a second life on the show. They needed a new era. They needed to sort of move past just having Tom Tom. They're expanding into the Valley, so on, so speak. We obviously know, though, that it's not in the Valley. It's in WeHo. But I think that ball started prior to Scandival. Scandival breaks. They use Scandival to build momentum for the restaurant, and then suddenly all of these opportunities come Ariana's way, and she's like, well, I don't really need the restaurant anymore.
She sure doesn't.
But she's locked into that storyline now because if she pulls out, they're going to accuse it of being fake. I mean, just from the producer's point of view, right?
I mean, it already is, but yeah.
So you're sort of like, it's sort of like the whole vibe of Vanderpump Rules as it is, of like committing to the bit in a way, right? You're like, well, I got this far in. I sort of can't stop now.
It really was only season 1 where they had both worlds,
yes,
where they could be that and still be kind of popular, but it quickly fell apart.
We see the first brushes with a spinoff happen in March 26th of 2016. Lisa announces the Vanderpump Dog Foundation, which is the prelude to the Vanderpump Dogs brick and mortar store. She starts it, as she says, to end the Yulin Dog Meat Festival, where, quote, this is directly from the Daily Mail. This is not my words. Quote, 10,000 dogs are tortured, slaughtered, and eaten each year in southern China. She calls it a, quote, heinous and barbaric festival, which is so xenophobic and racist to describe this like festival as barbaric, right?
Yeah.
And we don't really have to spend much time on the Yulin Meat Dog Festival. This becomes sort of like a crusade for Lisa. At one point, there's talk that Vanderpump Dogs is going to get a spinoff that never really materializes. But it is sort of like yet another branding opportunity for Lisa. And we really see her start to like pivot full time into this like charity matriarch space that is committed to LGBTQ rights, committed to dog rights, that sort of thing.
Well, Vanderpump Dogs did end up happening, but it was like one
Did it?
season in 2021.
Wait, did it actually
Yeah,
happen?
no, it did. I keep seeing it on Peacock, and I just checked it. It premiered in June of 2021, but obviously nothing has come since then. It's been almost 3 years.
How many episodes was it?
6.
Oh, okay.
A perfect proposal.
Oh, it was 2021. That's why I missed it.
Yeah,
because that was the
it came
season that Vanderpump was bad.
but they were trying it for a while before COVID.
No,
sure.
yeah, I just mean like as far back as 2016, they're talking about it.
Yeah.
Wait, I'm looking at it. In 2020, it was announced Peacock had ordered a series, and then they served as executive producers.
It was like a nothing show, though. Like literally nobody talked about it or gave a
No,
shit.
that's what I'm saying. That's why I said it never really materialized. Like it never really happened. Wait, canceled. Let's see why it got canceled.
I mean, I think we could assume pretty easily why. There's no way that show was pulling in like enough numbers. Also, 2021, weird time to try that out. When
Anyways.
Vanderpump was like not even on at that point because of COVID.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it just was like a weird time. Weird time to try to launch that show too amid all that scandal. Okay, Vanderpump Rules star Tom Sandoval shares his Blues Brothers-esque musical ambitions. This is the last thing we're going to talk about from this season. And this is in Billboard. This is from April 28th, 2016. And this is a very illuminating interview. So this is talking about his time at Coachella. And there's two things that, Matthew, make me do the Dune noise. Similar. Similarly, when I sit down on the desert ground, softened, and they're in the desert too, right? Like it's true Coachella.
When I sit down in
Softened by hundreds of spilled beers and thousands of footsteps and the spice of Arrakis, with Sandoval and his crew, which includes girlfriend and fellow Vanderpump Rules star Ariana Madix, her younger brother Jeremy, and what's that next name, Matthew?
Allie.
Ollie, Tom's IRL friend since 16. As Scheana says, he's really into grilling and making grilling and going to Coachella with them. The friend that he has brought up multiple times this season who has passed.
No.
That Ollie.
Damn.
Who Tom wears his sweater at the Sir back alley and says it's a Y2K sweater that he found in his closet after he died.
I don't want to talk about it.
That one. Who used to go to Coachella with them, as Scheana talks about on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, there's the whole drama with the texting, that sort of thing. That friend. IRL friend since 16 at a Coachella beer tent. Sandoval is gregarious but businesslike about the interview. A little later, it says, quote, Billboard isn't speaking to Sandoval in his capacity as rep for Vanderpump Rules. Instead, we're talking to the 32-year-old about his long gestating musical ambitions. He was a backup dancer for Toya of I Do fame back in the day and recently started in Kill the Noises' I Do Coke video. Ooh. Quote, it's hard to be skeptical when you're getting that itch to move shoulders, Ariana chimes in. Quote, you get a little head nod and you're like, this is okay. Speaking of the song. Now, Matt,
mood.
Everyone listening to this, if you're in a car, if you're in a plane, if you're in a bus, if you're walking down the street, I need you to be keeping your wits about you. I need you to be present in the moment. I need you to just sort of like strap yourself in, prepare for crash landing, and just sort of know that I love you and we're going to get through these next two paragraphs together, okay?
Deep breaths.
Ariana, who's a supportive girlfriend but hardly an enthusiastic cheerleader, is cautiously optimistic about Tom's music career when I ask her about it. Quote, I've known him for a long time before we were dating, and even before that we were close. I've watched him have ideas and then not have people around him to encourage him and say, just go for it. So it's really cool to see him have an idea and take a risk. In any creative field, if you put yourself out there, it's such a huge risk. Of course, not everyone is going to be your number one fan, but it's cool to see people vibe to this song and see it grow from there. And I think the stuff they're working on is fun. In turn, the music he's working on is partly inspired by her. Now, guys, what did I say? Deep breaths. And now we're going to push all in unison, okay? We're going to give birth to this next statement together because I can't do it alone. Okay. I remember the first time I hung out with Ariana, Tom says. The anticipation of meeting up with her, the anticipation of knowing her and being close to her as a person or friend. Like, is this going to the next level or is this going to be a quick thing? What is it? Those are the places I come from when writing music instead of trying to sound cool or like, let's do a sexy song.
And what we gave birth to is a big old pile of shit.
No, listen to this though. The anticipation of meeting up with her, the anticipation of knowing her, the anticipation of being close to her, the anticipation of being her friend. Who else did he talk about that like?
I was going to say this is like almost word for word. Rachel.
This is word for word,
It's
the Rachel
obscene.
textbook. She made me feel alive. She made me come out of my shell. She supports me.
I hate it. I hate it so much. I hate it so
Time is a
much.
flat circle. Soundtracked by Dune and Hans Zimmer. Okay. Okay, Matt, let's talk. Do we have anything in 2015, 2016 to talk about?
I mean, James has a lot of cheating at that point. He kind of becomes the main on the show at this point when it comes to that kind of scandal with Lala Kent.
He cheats with Jenna, Lala Kent. Yes.
Yeah. And then, of course, by 2017, we end up having Jax's affair with Faith Stowers.
Hold on that thought, though.
Pause.
Because we're not getting there just yet. But
Yes.
James does sleep with Lala at this time during the next season, and that is when Rachel enters the picture. So we're going to get into that really next week. But we have a few things left here, really two that I want to talk about. And we're going to fly through the first one and really dig into the second one and end this episode relatively on time. So Lisa Vanderpump gets interviewed by Thrillist about if the cast actually works at SUR. She says that it's weird having to interact with former employees who don't work on the show anymore. This is the next season. So they have just finished seat filming earlier that year, season 5. This is going into season 5. It's premiering soon. They're doing press for it. And Lisa talks about how having to be on the same show as people like Kristen and Stassi is weird. Quote, I can't rein them in like I used to, and I wouldn't want to. You want to show the reality of their lives on the show. She also notes that they do still actually work for her, which is sort of like the weird fourth wall of the show, where you see that really in season 5 as they butt heads with Lisa. And more people start to have a voice around Lisa. Even if they don't work for Lisa, they're deferential to Lisa. And the show has to posit it that like they want to keep their jobs at SUR. They want their jobs back at SUR. They want to like sort of be in the mix at Pump or whatever it is. But really what it is Lisa signs their checks as an executive producer. And like they want to keep their job on the show.
Yes.
That's why they have to be deferential
Yes.
to Lisa.
I mean, still true to this day.
And that is like such like a weird ethical boundary that like we never really talk about with this show. Is it gets talked about a lot with Andy Cohen, like quote unquote being sort of the metaphorical boss of the Housewives as the executive producer, not as actually like a Bravo employee. But we rarely ever talk about the fact that like Lisa executive produces this show and also forces them to film with her. And they can't really actually voice opinions about things because Lisa signs their checks.
She's much more of a boss than Andy Cohen is, and she has much more control.
Yeah, she's much more in the mix, especially with Alex Baskin. She says that part of the deal is, as the current employees of the show, part of the deal is they do, and we remember this at the time, they actually do have to film at the show as actual employees of SUR while the show is filming. And then she gives them breaks in the off season to do press, do their own things. And then as the show starts up again, they have to get back to work.
That's why it's like Disneyland during the summer,
knew.
because that's when they usually film. Like
Yeah,
around Prime.
that's why it feels like Disneyland. She says that the interviewer asks, quote, are they really working? Is it for the show? And she says, quote, I don't really think that's any different. If they're behind the bar, they have to really work too. And then really most interestingly here says that I think Pump and SUR were in the top 100 across America on Open Table last year because of the business from the show. They're both very successful. Even though we don't promote Pump, it has its own identity. It does so well, and it's such a unique location. The food is consistent. I challenge that. And the ambiance is great.
Well,
Now,
I agree with that.
we're going to end here with Stassi, of all people, since she was in 2016 the queen bee of Vanderpump
This is
Rules.
right before the
regardless of how we feel about her now, that is an undeniable fact, right? She's a hateful, awful woman, but it is true that if we are back in 2016, she is the queen du jour of that show.
Yes.
That's not a real way to say what queen du jour isn't real. I just like adding du jour to everything. So this is an ET. This is from November 7th, 2016, exclusive. A day in the life of Stassi Schroeder, the loveliest, bitchiest, realest reality star of them all. I read part of this interview last week when I talked about her time on The Amazing Race and having to get exited from The Amazing Race, but this is some other information from that I found really interesting. So this first paragraph, Matt, is going to mean something to you and I, but it's not going to mean something to the viewers, and I'll explain why. Quote, none of us actually feel famous, she insists, perched on a coffee table in her living room, her beige Stuart Weitzman thigh-high boots crossed. I really think all my friends would say that too. No, Matt, where did you and I see a bunch of beige Stuart Weitzman thigh-highs in our life?
Oh, that sounds really familiar. Are you talking about a certain...
Okay, I'm going to use anonymous language here because even though this was over 6 years ago now, it is important that we don't get sued.
I'm pretty sure I'm immediately thinking of the exact same.
Matt and I worked at a job where we had to handle the clothing of the rich and famous.
Let's just say that, yeah.
And Stuart Weitzman was in at the time. These thigh-high Stuart Weitzman shoes were like literally all anyone was selling at us because there was a certain famous group of individuals that were all affiliated with each other that would receive shoes from places like Stuart Weitzman, and then they were all the like beige Stuart Weitzman shoes, or in 2017 there was like the like royal cobalt blue ones and like green. Remember?
I remember those blue ones specifically. Those really had a heyday.
They would launder them. Launder is a strong word. I'm using that jokingly. They would pass them through our place of employment to make a few bucks.
Well, yes.
And I just, when I read this, I went, ah! Because I like was taken back to getting a packet of stuff that I needed to take care of that included like 15 of these shoes.
I was gonna say, like,
from
the
a
trafficking
certain,
of these.
Yeah, like from a specific celebrity that we have talked about here on this podcast.
This is really
And
Coachella core when you think about it.
my boss being like, you better get these up on the fucking site or else I'll kill you. Except she was like 5 feet tall and was squeaking it rather than sounding like I just did. Now. And I was taken back to a time and a place in our lives. I was like, whoa. All these years later, Stuart Weitzman re-enters. Yes. Yeah. Our relationship was built over Stuart Weitzman thigh highs. So she says, quote, I think people living in LA, all of our lives are different from most 20-somethings. I've just recently gotten to the point where I'm like, I'm really fucking lucky that I just get to get up and have fun all the time. If I want to wake up and go to Disneyland, I can do that. If I want to drink literally from morning to night, I can do that. And I will. And I do. Most people that I talk to from home, they have kids. They have 9 to 5. They don't get to say, quote, I think I'll just go shopping. I don't have a normal job. Hashtag motherfucking blessed.
It's so funny because I just saw her on, what's that loser's podcast? It's like a Bravo podcast. Anyway, Stassi was
Nick Viall?
No, the other one.
Alex Baskin?
No, the other one. Well, he's been around for a long time. I think it's like a Sirius XM show. Besties with Andy.
Jeff.
Yes, Lewis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, she basically is like on the other side of that. She was basically, they were asking like, why aren't you in the Valley? Or like, do you still hang out there when Vanderpump? And she's like, I can't go out like that anymore. I have a very stable life. Like I'm, married. I have a kid, I can't do this anymore. And I'm like,
God, her fucking house. Happening. So they kind of round up her business ventures. Fashion blogger, model, full-time job as being Stassi. She's monetized it on Straight Up with Stassi. She earns sponsorship ads in addition to the reported tens of thousands of dollars she makes per Pump Rules episode. And she feels that really what has allowed her to be successful is being in control of her own image and selling that image. Now, This is the part that I found so fascinating because it is a window into really like the dawn of a new era of reality television star that Stassi was one of the pioneers of. I'm not saying that is like a good thing or like a hashtag go off queen type of thing, but it is like the reality that she was one of the most successfully marketed reality TV stars of the 2010s.
And she
of,
really
like,
started
the new generation.
And she really started the podcast book off-season tea kind of cycle that literally everyone in the show follows now.
Yes. I mean, Stassi is sort of like the blueprint for how these Vanderpump Rules stars operate nowadays. So this is sort of like back when Revolve was still sort of like a shiny thing. Quote, Revolve is a massively minimalist fashion showroom, 2 floors lined with racks of color-coordinated clothing. Stassi joked during lunch that she had single-handedly kept them in business via online shopping, but this brick-and-mortar location is by invite only. The two of us, along with Stassi's publicist, who is tagging along for the day, and the Revolve rep, who are the only ones inside, although women repeatedly knock at the front door, and after a requisite, "Hi, sorry, do you have an appointment?" are quickly turned away. Stassi admits that she got the same response the first time. Quote, "I didn't think I had to be like, well, my name is ... Can I come?" In the meantime, she will continue the job of being Stassi. This is a little bit later in the piece after they talk about like what she's going to do if Vanderpump Rules ever ends, what she plans on doing next with her life. Quote, "In the meantime, she's continuing the job of being Stassi, except she'll get better at it and she'll make her impact bigger. She has dreams of her mini media empire changing the way talk, radio, and broadcasting works. Eventually, she wants a straight up with Stassi talk show. 100%, she says, that is goals. Her future, as she envisions it, doesn't involve catfighting for the cameras or obituary of any sorts. She smiles as she ponders the possibilities. I want to be the female Howard Stern, except more. I have set out to have women feel like they're sitting around having wine with their girlfriends, talking about things they normally don't say out loud, feeling like they're less alone. I love that I have found something that makes me feel like I have a purpose. I'm connecting with women in such a cool way where we all feel good about ourselves. I feel like what I'm good at is exposing myself so that other people feel better about themselves." And what a prophetic statement that is.
Her saying
because
that
her
is gold.
her cancellation revolved around truly being exposed in a horrible way and everyone getting to take a turn feeling like a better person for knowing that she is no longer on TV. So she was right about that. She is sort of a lightning rod for that sort of thing, but it is interesting to hear her ambitions and how those ambitions have been built on by people that have successfully played the game for now, right? That's sort of the gambit that you run when you market yourself like Stassi, and what I think people in that Stassi generation of reality stars didn't quite yet understand is that like the crucible of reality TV fame is like very much based on public perception. That like the Howard Sternification of talk radio worked because those kinds of generational people that were listening to Howard Stern weren't also on Twitter and doing purity tests about you. And that is not to say that Stassi lost all of that for no reason. She's a horrible person and did a horrible thing. And what she did to Faith and the things that she said about Faith were fucking vile. That is like without a question. But Howard Stern has also said some incredibly vile things.
Yep.
But his brand of vileness worked in a time when people weren't litigating things on social media, weren't cross-posting clips to Reddit and then getting talked about on other podcasts. Yeah, when the talk radio circuit was sort of like, be insane, be crazy, be so like litigious in the things that you say that you're always attracting lawsuits, you're always getting people to beef with you, you're sort of like controversial on purpose. That just like doesn't work anymore because you have to go like full cancel culture weirdo to actually have that sort of consistent audience that keeps with you through those scandals.
Yeah.
And even then, they're purity testing you against things like, oh, well, you support gay people, so actually we hate you, right? Like it's like a full, very like polarizing marketplace now where you can't just sort of be off the cuff and you can't sort of just be ridiculous and a huge bitch and not face any consequences for that. It's very interesting to see her sort of grasp at that prior to really, I don't know, that whole marketplace settling on what it is now, right? Like we see Vanderpump Rule stars have successful podcasts. Shenanigans was like in the top 5 podcasts during Scandal, right? Like that is working for her, but it is gonna be gone just like that if she messes up. And that is what Stassi didn't yet understand. And she played so reckless with this fame. It is so interesting to see her fly so close to the sun and like Icarus fall right back down to earth. It's just fascinating. It's fascinating. That was what I really was building towards this episode.
So excited for next part where we really get into how that goes down because it is so messy.
I know. This was a long episode, but I think it's worth it. I think it was a good episode regardless.
Also,
I think that it was necessary.
Laugh. I went on Revolve's website and their top banner is called Going Rogue. The Raquel Leviss impact. I'm obsessed. Thank you so much also for this episode, Joan. You guys can't tell, I'm getting a cold as we're recording. So I've been sneezing and blowing my nose off camera constantly.
Of course.
But you did an amazing job. I'm so excited to see where we go next with this.
I have a story that I'm going to save for the bonus episode, but I'm not done out of stories just yet.
Damn.
This one involves a Costco and almost making the local news.
What?
I'm not telling you.
Is this the New Jersey Costco?
Yes.
Ooh,
I'll tell you later.
I can't wait.
Do you want to get out of here? Oh, by the way, go to patreon.com/eating for free. Shout out to patrons. We love you. Thank you for waiting a little bit longer on Beautiful Women updates. We have another one coming out this week. We just had a lot going on last week and we had to push the episode to this week, but we're back on schedule and we have such a fucking funny episode. Alex and I had such a good conversation this week, so I'm very excited about that. And other than that, go read Paper Magazine, I guess. I can't say what you do, so never mind about that.
Well, I have been getting back into my photography stuff.
Yes.
So
if you're in the Bay Area, book Matt for photos.
There we go. How about that?
You can get shot by your favorite podcaster. He's a fab photo maker.
I have some fun
photo
stuff.
maker. Why did I call you a photo maker? A photographer.
Some people go by image creator nowadays, which I kind of get. I kind of feel that.
I think we reached the end of these episodes and I've talked so much. I am out of words.
Oh, and
I've played all the words in my Scrabble deck, you know?
As the virus gets into my brain too, I am about to collapse.
I'm you're a photo creative personality, and it's bitch, say photographer. Keep going.
But yes, I have some good stuff coming up with some local peeps. And stay tuned. Follow my Instagram at _Matthew Lawson. And
hit him up for photos if you live in the Bay Area.
Yeah,
pay him some
honestly,
money.
for free. I'm literally doing free work. Literally eating for free right here, right now. In my stew. All right, let's go.
2, 1. There we go.
Ooh.
Bitch, did you hear that?
Girl,
Wait,
I don't know if I
do
can
that one more time.
harmonize.
Love that. I can't do the second refrain, but that that we've got that
Hans
down,
Zimmer,
bitch.
count your days.
Count your fucking days. Goodbye. You've been listening to Eating for Free, a podcast created, co-hosted, written, researched, and produced by myself, Joan Summers, and Matthew Lawson, with original theme music by Sam Huntington of Crooks and Nannies. If you liked what you heard today, you can go to patreon.com/eating for free to get access to weekly bonus episodes, as well as access to my other podcast, Beautiful Women Updates, hosted by myself and Alex V. Green. You can also go to eatingforfree.com to get access to the links to our research from today's episode, as well as merch and so much more.